All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. And with me, pretty much as always, is our marketing director, one of our other coaches, all around superhuman, Mrs. Jen Weibor Hart. Hey, Jen.
Hi, Adam.
How are you?
I'm good.
All
Rough
right.
abs game last night.
Ooh, I don't want to. Why you got to do that?
If I have to. I had to. So
I decided
I'm so
to
sorry.
do a bracket at the best of my now 20-year-old who had done a bracket. He picked the Avs to win it all.
Of course he did.
Of course he did. He is loyal to the soil, and I'll give him credit for that. I picked them to be a first-round exit.
Yeah, me too. If I had put together a formal bracket,
Yeah, still haven't beat the Jets this year.
No.
Not once. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get on with the show, because Jen and I really do have a very cool guest for you, viewers, listeners, all of you today. Welcome to the show, Jennifer Busserini. Hey, Jennifer.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. Monday morning.
Okay, well, that's how we roll. Although we didn't get into a whole lot of the logistics of how this goes, but the majority of our audience is actually listenership, the podcast.
Sure.
We do get some viewership live even. Here we are on Monday morning. And we actually don't have the podcast out until Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So we've got about 48 hours before our audiences, or the majority of our audience, is going to get a taste of Jennifer.
Ah, okay.
All right. So, yeah, there will be some build up to that. I'm sure the anticipation will be killing them.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So, Jennifer, you've never been on the show before.
I have not.
So we'll give you a little bit of background. Our audience is obviously people that we would think are ideal coaching clients for Just the Tips, mortgage originators, real estate agents, some attorneys, mostly family and divorce type of stuff, insurance agents, financial planners, basically people that have a sales gig direct to the consumer for large ticket items, mortgages, houses, whatever the case may be. So you fit right into that, obviously. And I'm not going to lie, I think our favorite coaching clients are mortgage originators. So this is
they're the coolest people.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, no question. No doubt.
Biased, but
Right? So we do have some prerequisites, particularly for people that are going to be on the show, that they've been in the game a little while, that they've done some decent production, that you have some shit that could actually be imparted on our audience, and it would pay some dividends for them.
There you go.
So let's step into the Wayback Machine. How did Jennifer get started in the mortgage space?
I started out as a realtor, actually. And
Whoa.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to still keep her on the show, Jen? She was on the dark side at one time. All right.
We'll see.
We'll let it slide for the moment.
I started working in real estate with my now ex-husband. He's been a realtor a long time. Started working with him. And even though that was fine and okay, I started getting really frustrated with the lenders I would work with. And typical Virgo fashion, I'm just going to do this all myself. This is crazy. I'm tired of people thinking a closing date's a mere suggestion. So I started it thinking, even if I just did my own clients, his clients, fine. And it just became a better fit for me. And, surprisingly, if you would have asked me 20 years ago, are you ever going to want to sit and look at someone's pay stubs all day and calculate, income and read guidelines, I would have told you were nuts. But it became a good fit, and I just completely segued to this side. I still keep a real estate license, but I don't actively do real estate. So
when did you start in real estate?
2007.
Ooh. And when did you switch to the good side?
2014, I think it was.
Okay, about a decade.
15-ish. Yeah,
right.
I guess 14. Yeah.
Was that transition easy? We got a handful of friends and colleagues, you and I both, that have gone the other way. Well, hey, we have a lot of friends and colleagues that go both ways, but we won't bring them in. But
different show.
Totally different show. But we do know a handful of people that were LOs and went into real estate. But your move is rare, more rare, it would seem.
It is, and and I think a lot of people go the other way because they see, per transaction, realtors make more, whatever. And to me, it's not even about the money part. It just somehow this just became a better fit. I felt like I just had more control over things. And at the time, it was a better way for me to work with my husband. Obviously, it wasn't the end all be all because he's not my ex-husband, but different story. But it was just a better fit for my personality, and I felt fine with it. And you have to learn the nuances of everything, but a lot of it was helpful because some of the terms and the things that go on in the process of a transaction, I was already familiar with it. Being in the real estate industry, you don't have to learn, what is an EMD and, what does a COE stand for, even though lenders learn, okay, there's another, that's an acronym for something else. But, a lot of those basics they're universal, within that industry. So it was a pretty easy transition, I felt.
That's funny. There are a couple of things that I think are really funny in that. And I want to discuss one of the things that you mentioned, because I think that there is a misconception that the commissions are bigger on a transaction for a real estate agent. You and I don't pay for staging. You
Correct.
and I don't pay for photographing a house. You and I don't pay to market a property.
Correct.
I mean, is it true? I mean, I think a really good real estate agent that's really putting all that out there is probably on par. They charge more, but I think they have to. I think their expenses are greater.
And I think that where you see the difference, of course, is a larger dollar sale. That's, if it's a, $300,000 sale, you look at the difference and it's not a lot of difference. You said, especially when you're considering the costs that go into the real estate side. But then when you look at, a higher price, listing $900,000, $1 million, depending on the loan and their comp structure, if you have a cap, that's where the gap is a lot larger. But then again, I mean, I feel like most loan officers do more loans per month. So maybe on average, you're making less per transaction, but you do more. So,
well, we certainly know that's true now, just based on the sole fact that there are so few loan originators.
Right.
Less than 40% renewed their license this year.
Right. Good.
That's a big deal. And I don't know how that works in Nevada. In Colorado, the agents only have to renew their license every 3 years. It makes it harder to track that.
Yeah. You'll hear, you mean real estate agents or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Realtors here.
We have to renew every year.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. We're every year. Realtors here every 2 years.
Every 2. Okay.
Yeah. It used to be every 4, and then they switched it to every 2.
I think there's something else really funny that you had mentioned, and I just had this conversation. I was actually teaching a class this weekend on reverse mortgages, and one of the attendees had asked me a bunch of questions about details in a specific structure for he and his wife. And without even really thinking it through, I am using industry acronyms. I'm calling it a HECM. He doesn't know what a HECM is. He thinks it's a reverse mortgage, right? And so he said that. He said, I don't understand what that means. And I said, that's funny because I remember years ago reading an article in a four-wheeler magazine, either off-road or four-wheeler Jeep, something. And the writer had attended a dinner with his wife, who was a surgical nurse. And they're talking shop at dinner, and all the acronyms are flying around, and he doesn't have a clue what they're saying. And at some point, somebody asked him about his Jeep, interesting vehicle, and he immediately threw out all the acronyms that circumnavigate the off-road world, the Jeep modification world. And you realize that this is true in basically every walk of life, every industry, every hobby, that we do have an exorbitant amount of acronyms that we use because we've been doing it so long. It's our language.
Right.
And the people who don't get it.
Right.
Pretty common stuff. So part of that transition from going real estate to mortgages, it would seem to me that you pretty much had a database, a client base that you were able to step into.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously your now ex-husband continued to move with his real estate business.
Correct.
And of course, that's reminiscent of the real estate agent in Wall Street. I could get you a loan at 10%, but I'm already into 3 deals myself. I'll have my husband do it. She's adorable. But you don't want to be on the Upper East Side. What do you got there? Sean and Madonna? That's it. So that must have been a relatively simple transition that way from a lead gen perspective.
Correct. However, and I mean, he knows a lot of people. He's been in the industry for, gosh, a long time, since 96, and in Las Vegas, where I live, since 98. So he knew a lot of people, not a lot of realtors, and so did I. So of course he's, recommending me to everybody. And although he would send me all his clients, it took a little bit of time for other realtors to be willing to work with me, because they thought, oh, well, she's still a realtor. Her husband's a realtor. Oh, she's going to take our client. And I thought, well, why in the world would I do that? I'm not going to shoot my own self in the foot. But, once I ended up, just meeting other people, getting new clients, and working with those realtors, maybe they were on the listing side and I worked with the borrower. And then they started to see how I worked, and then they started trusting me more and starting to refer me. But even though it was an easy transition, and I out the gate had some clients because he had, such a good book of business, obtaining more referral partners wasn't as quick and easy as I thought it would be. But once it picked up, then they realized, okay, yeah, she's not going to take our client and, steer him towards someone else. So it's been a good thing. And then they like how I do have knowledge of both sides. So, because you know how it is, the clients are always going to ask whoever they're talking to questions that might be like, they'll ask their lender realtor questions. They're going to ask their realtor lender questions. And I can, speak on both sides. I'll never just talk as far as, negotiation and things that are more agent specific. But if it's a general, hey, what happens next? Or what is this? I can speak on it, from a background of knowledge and be correct. And I think the realtors like that I can back them up. And that's been very helpful. And there's sometimes too, it's like, how things need to be. Like, I know what the realtors need on their addendums and, certain contracts, but then I know what we need, the famous, putting seller credit in lieu of repairs. I'm like, nope, we're not saying that. And so because I know what both sides need, it's easier to put it all together.
That makes a lot of sense. I would be willing to bet that there is a significant gap in the industry as a whole, where those of us that have only done one or only do one have a failure in the education that we get, the amount of information that we have for what the other side is doing, needs to be doing, what guidelines are changing. Right now, we talk a lot about the class action lawsuit that was settled with NAR and the bigger real estate companies. So it's in the forefront. We talk a lot about it with real estate agents. In fact, it was the subject of our quarterly roundtable last week. So there's an example, but negligible, less prolific guideline changes in real estate and mortgages. I'm sure it goes both ways, that both sides are failing to educate one another, to learn from one another, to inquire with one another as to what goes on to make that smoother. But I could see where that would make a significant difference in getting transactions done more smoothly.
Right. Or if you're with a new agent, sometimes, I've dealt with that. And there's times that I know they're new and I'm like, hey, look, I'm obviously not your broker. I'm not going to tell you how to be a realtor, but there's some things I can help you with just from knowledge and experience. So, or to, just be that extra voice to talk them off the ledge when they're panicking about something. I'm like, all right, calm down. Let me tell you something. This is not going to, ruin everything. Seller's not going to walk and cancel. They throw those things out there. And I've helped walk, several new agents through things. They're not sure how to, write up certain things. I'm like, well, this is probably what you need to state in there to cover yourself and to not ruin it on my side. So, but it definitely, I feel, when you have knowledge of both sides, you don't have to know every single detail, but I think it's definitely helpful.
Oh, I'm sure.
To get it to the finish line.
Do you still work with the ex?
I do.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he'll still, I mean, there's so many people that don't even realize that we're divorced, which I'm not going to, go into like my whole personal, drama and journey. They'll just call me like, oh, hey, how's he doing? I'm like, he's great,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, he will still refer me, his clients. But funny, I don't always refer clients to him. I have several referral partners, and honestly, I try and spread the love. Lenders don't get as many leads, if you will, as realtors. So it's usually not an equal, exchange of referrals. If I'm chatting with someone and I feel like, this person's personality is like his, they have it, then I will refer to him. But most of the time I don't. And it's just because I don't want it to seem like, oh yeah, she's only giving stuff to him. So but I try to do it with pretty much every referral. It's like, hey, we've talked. I know these couple agents that might be a good fit for this client. Here's a few people to choose from. So, but of course, I always say use whoever you want. But if you want a referral, here's someone I can recommend.
Well, and you want to do what you can to eliminate personality conflicts.
Sure. And there's
you and I both know we have a borrower that's not going to work well with a particular agent, or vice versa. We avoid that.
Right. Of course. And I mean, for him, he always says, obviously I'll work with any lender you want to work with, but me being a broker, he's like, probably she's going to save you some money. There's no fees and the rates are probably going to be lower, all of that. Or, maybe you won't, get approved somewhere else. And, we had someone that we just closed. He didn't even remember, like his father knows both of us and kind of forgot that we were in the real estate. He went right into his bank and didn't get pre-approved. Yeah, VA loan, and he has some bumpy credit, but he didn't think, went into a local bank at that, not even a national bank, and they shot him down. And his dad was like, why didn't you call, Buzz and Jennifer? And yeah, we closed him a few weeks ago. And it was not easy. It was a difficult loan, but he now owns a home. So, and that was just one of those things. It's like, hey, you were turned down by someone else, but she might be able to do something that someone else can't do. So
I'm sure. And we comment on that all the time about, really, the bottom line is if we can't get it done, it can't be done.
Right.
Now, that's a double-edged sword, because we do get a lot of business because that understanding exists that, if Adam can't get it done, being a broker with his team, with his experience, then it really can't be done, which, drives a lot of business, but it definitely drives a lot of difficult transactions. Sometimes
it's like, and it's great. And it's a nice personal win when those do, come through.
For sure.
And the most rewarding ones, I feel, are the ones that are a little more stressful, and it's if you feel like every single step you're like just being kicked in the ass, like constantly. But when it's a really deserving person and you understand the backstory and you're pushing hard to get it done, and you finally get that, clear to close, and it's recorded, and this person's calling you crying, oh my God, I'm a homeowner. And like, okay, that was worth the 3 new gray hairs I sprouted during this process.
3. Wow.
or whatever the case may be. So but yeah, we end up getting some of those. You have someone call you, oh my God, this is falling out, can you save it? And of course you want to say, well, why didn't you call me in the first place, genius? But you don't say that out loud. Well, sometimes you do.
Sometimes we do.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, thanks for this, but why not refer to me in the first place? And don't just send me your battered and bruised stuff. Send me give me an easy one now and then. But it is kind of nice to know, okay, we can salvage it. If it can be salvaged, it will be salvaged. So,
in all fairness, I think we do that a lot to our wholesalers at my office. If we have a new wholesaler come across our desk, I'll usually say, great, tell me what you do that nobody else does. When that loan hits my desk, I'll send it to you. And if you don't fuck it up, I'll send you some more.
Pretty much.
So, that's kind of how it works, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. So, after all this time, a decade of mortgages, prior years doing real estate, where's the business coming from? So how about this cat that you just closed that got denied by his bank? How do you know it? Where did he come from?
He was his dad has been like the guy who's worked on our cars forever.
Cool.
You know, I don't even
Okay.
know how my ex-husband knows him. He knew him from years ago. And so, yeah, that's just someone that we've known a while. I know like his commercial lease for his building, like my husband, you know, did that. So we've known them, and we just, I mean, I know a lot of people, you know, so it's just a lot of referrals between past clients, you know, other realtors, other brokers, especially in Nevada, because not a lot of people are licensed here.
It's such a pain in the ass.
Because yeah, you have to have, you know, brick and mortar state and
That's
all of
why
that.
I referred that deal to you.
Yeah, and you can't do the DSCRs, you know, here, you know, from other states, one of those few that you have to be licensed here to do.
Right.
So I will go, and there's a lot of people coming, you know, to Las Vegas, you know, coming to Nevada to buy property. And sometimes I feel bad because I'll get a lot of referrals like from California, for example, but I can't give back. I'm like, no one's going to California, but I get, you know, people coming here. And yeah, a lot of past clients are just people I know. I've lived here my entire life. So between
Wow.
that, you know, just people I know, in my free time, if you will, I coach a middle school cheer team. So you know, I have a sphere of people I know that are completely unrelated to real estate and mortgage.
Yeah.
You know, so
Community
all you hang
involvement.
around- the what?
The community involvement, always a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Which is just, it just was born, you know, years ago when my daughter was at that school and they needed someone to help them, and regular coach quit. And I'm like, okay, I guess I coach the cheer team now. And I, you know,
Rah-rah.
continue to do it. I don't know if you saw the video I posted a couple weeks ago. We had a performance. One of our girls was gone. I'm like, I got you. I'm in this. So here I am lifting girls up. It was pretty funny.
You were cheering?
I did the performance. Yeah, I did all the stunting.
Jen, let's see if we can find that video to share with our audience.
It's on my Facebook. Yeah. I was like, hey, show must
All
go.
right.
Coach steps in, and you know, it's just, you know, the stunting. I thought, well, I teach them how to do it and I make the routine. So sure, I can fill in. But
Inside joke, but that'll be better than Claire's scorpion, I assure you. All right.
But yeah, that's, so I meet people in just different walks of life. Because if all you hang around is other real estate people, you're not going to get a lot of, you know, new business. And I try to just be out there socializing, not for business purposes, just for life, you know, and business will grow naturally with that. You know, when I go meet people, it's not about, oh yeah, if you need a mortgage here, call me, because nobody likes that. No, nobody likes that. But you just be your authentic self and be chatting, and then it's going to come out. This is what I do, and then you will naturally get referrals.
So be constant, be consistent, be
Mhm.
authentic, be transparent. That sounds familiar to me. Oh yeah, that's what I wrote about in the sales mindset book that we published last fall. Right. Okay. So yeah, and absolutely. Although I think the community involvement is a big one. And don't get me wrong, I love working with a small handful of real estate agents. We've got a very tight-knit group that we spend time with, that I would have in my home for dinner.
Right.
Right. And that's basically how that works. That's really what referral partners need to be. It needs to be a relationship above all else. That needs to be the focus. I would say that our business, and hopefully our MO, is that it's primarily repeat clients and client referrals. And we focus very heavily on that, not only at our mortgage company, but certainly in our coaching practice and what we give our coaching clients, because it is valuable to be able to refer people, clients, consumers to your referral partners. That relationship needs to be reciprocal.
Sure.
All while never being reliant on whether or not your referral partners are doing their lead gen work.
Right.
So I do think that there's some value in that for sure. The community involvement is a big, big one. There's no question.
Right.
I think that volunteer work, community work, running with your tribes, we talk about that all the time. I will forever make fun of the fact that Jennifer was a cheerleader, as a cheerleader is still being a cheerleader, because I think that is hilarious, kitschy, and always in Vegas. You have been a cheerleader in Vegas pretty much your whole life.
For a minute now, yeah.
Yeah, for a minute now, which is awesome. I'm not going to say how many minutes. I know the truth. I'm not going to reveal that to our audience. For those of you asking, Jennifer's 29, and she's been in this game since she was 8. She's been doing real estate and mortgages since she was 8. So yeah, it's a good minute.
No, don't we all stop at 29? We just had anniversaries of 29, I think.
Okay. That's fine. However you want to, Jennifer. It's your lie. You tell it however
You
you
know
want.
what? I'll wear it. I'm gonna have my 20th anniversary of my 29th birthday this year, so I'll roll with it. You just did that math. Are you?
I had to. Well, I got to take my shoes and socks off so I can count that.
I'm glad you work
Yes.
in mortgage with numbers.
Right. Yeah. Actually, well, we'll talk about that off camera because you and I do get to talk quite a bit, which is really cool as well. But what kind of relevance do you think it has on your business being from the town you work in?
That's kind of an interesting question. For my business necessarily,
I mean, are you doing loans for people you met in high school?
um,
Are you doing loans for their children?
I have done a couple actually
Okay.
that just through, social media and such. And one of my realtor referral partners, we actually did go to high school together. Like, social media and all that. And she calls me one day. She's like, and because I don't post a lot on social media about, mortgage and what I do, which I know some people are like, oh, that's crazy. You should always talk about it. And I'm like,
Oh,
well,
no, you shouldn't. It's a
I'm
boring
like, no.
fucking
I'm like,
subject.
nobody cares. And
Nobody cares.
I did make a post recently about that. I'm like, I don't talk about it a lot because it sucks. Nobody wants to talk about mortgage. People who need a mortgage don't want to talk about mortgages.
No, it's
They
not a
wanna
sexy subject.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And
But
for those of you listening, watching, and all of you that told Jennifer that was crazy, your audience already knows what you do. They need to know who you are. They need to know that authenticity. And by the way, mortgages, real estate, taxes, investments, insurance, these are boring fucking subjects.
it is. And the only
Okay.
people who pay attention to those posts a lot of times are other people in the industry.
Totally.
But I mean, I'll throw it out now and then. It's like, hey, just remember this is what I do. But I don't inundate people with it. That's how you get snoozed anyway. Nobody's going to even see your stuff.
Right.
So yeah, we worked, she did refer me somebody, we worked on something together. And so now she's one of my referral partners. And yeah, just a lot, people that I've known over the years where I find that I build rapport with the clients though, especially people who are moving here. I work with a lot of military, they're transitioning here. And I just tell them, look, on a personal note, like I've lived here my whole life. So if you have a question about Las Vegas in general, like I can answer it for you. And you don't have to only ask me mortgage questions. If you're unsure about something, certain parts of town, certain neighborhoods, things that you technically can't ask your realtor because it's, they can't talk about certain things. And not that I go there and it's not like a, fair housing violation kind of thing.
Right.
But, it's just like, hey, like a mom to another mom, talking about, hey, certain things that it's important to them and their kids or close to their work. I can speak on that just from a personal level, like they're talking to a friend. So I feel like that has really helped, like I said, build that rapport, which just strengthens that relationship. So when we are talking about the boring mortgage stuff, it's just a more seamless thing. They feel like, okay, here's my friend now asking me for everything in the world and, a DNA sample on top of it. So practically I'm like,
let's just get that quick swab inside your mouth while we're here.
Right. I'm like,
then we can approve your loan.
sacrifice your firstborn, send me a DNA sample, cut off a limb, all the things, and we'll get you a house.
Right. And
So.
your mother's maiden name is fantastic.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And Jen, yes, I know we're going to run over, but just because I have to ask, and we will get Jennifer back on the show. Jennifer, what does your team look like? What are you doing for some support? Are there other LOs?
There are. I mean, it's really. I have a part-time assistant who helps me a little bit. Probably not as much as I should because I'm a control freak and I want to do it all myself.
That's all of us. You're good.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And I have a great processor, and she and I work well together. Again, I end up doing things that a lot of people, that's a processor job. I'm like, I want to make sure things are done. And it's really just us. I mean, our company's really small. There's other LOs, but they don't necessarily work, with me on the same transactions. So
Sure.
it's mainly me and my processor for the most part. So
Okay.
yeah, I need to pass off more tasks. I just don't. I know, time management.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. What's the magic formula, Jen? Let's see. Pay somebody $20 an hour, 20 hours a week, roughly $1,600 an hour, but it frees up, or $1,600 a month, but it frees up 80 hours of your time. I think all of you listening could probably find one more deal with an extra 80 hours. And I'll bet pretty much all of you listening, watching, whatever, that one deal probably pays you more than $1,600. You probably need some help. I'd be willing to bet, and we'll talk about this next time we have Jennifer on. I'd be willing to bet Jennifer is doing a lot of shit that is not within the definition of originating loans. That she is doing things that are way beyond a loan originator's task list. All right. We're going to get to that. Jennifer, thank you.
Thank you.
We knew that the time would whip on by. Jen, what are we up to these days at Just the Tips? I know you want to talk about Social Media Day.
Yeah, Social Media Day Denver is the big one. You can go to socialmediadaydenver.com to get your tickets. It is Friday, June 14th. We have some really great speakers lined up this year. Repeat speakers, Michelle, as in Brett and Michelle, is coming back to talk about Google My Business. There's been some really big updates on that front that I'm looking forward to her teaching us about. We also have Angie Callan coming back to talk about LinkedIn, which is always great. But we
Angie's
also,
a badass.
I haven't even told you this, but we have a speaker that I was talking to her. She's talking about the psychology behind social media. Samantha Ruth, you knew her husband who passed away a number of years ago. I can blanking on his first name. Samantha Ruth is her name, but she messaged me this weekend and said that you knew her husband. So small world as always. Along with, let's see what else. We have somebody talking about when you know you should hire out your social media. We have somebody talking about the tech behind social media. Lots of great stuff. And almost all new speakers this year, which I'm really excited about. So you can go to...
Are we going to have any stroke victims?
Let's hope not.
How about hospital escapees?
Let's hope not.
You can always expect something exciting at a conference put on by Just the Tips, though. Okay.
Yeah, ironically, both those things happened at the same event that you just mentioned.
Yeah,
but hopefully not. But yeah, so you can go to socialmediadaydenver.com or justthetipscoaching.com to grab your ticket for that. You can also get past episodes of our show, book one-on-one coaching, book a day of Adam and Jen coaching, all the things. We always have a lot.
That's been a fun event. I've been having a lot of fun with the day with Adam and Jen.
Yeah, for sure.
Always cool people.
Yeah.
All right. That's a lot. I don't know that I can even absorb all of that, but yeah, justthetipscoaching.com to find all of the things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And Jennifer, thank you again. I know that this is not an easy task to carve out this kind of time this early on a Monday. And are we in the same time zone? Are you on Mountain Time?
No, we're Pacific.
You're Pacific. Okay. So real early for you. Thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Yeah, we'll get you booked for another episode. Okay. For the rest of you watching live or in syndication or listening to the podcast, you can catch us live on Mondays at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can catch the podcast a mere 48 hours later on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon podcasts. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.